Tremendous here, and I got another book review here for you. This one is called Noctem. I think I'm saying that right. And it's book one of the Noctem universe, although it is the only book available as far as I can tell. I checked for more things on the from the author on Amazon and couldn't find anything, so I believe this is like a debut, maybe? I got it for free with Kindle Unlimited, but it looks like you can get it for $3.75 in e-format. It is under the military thriller suspense type category genres. The author reached out on Reddit and asked me to do a review, and I was more than happy to do so. And I'm glad he did. Mr. Daniel Jones, thank you, because this book was really good. It was really good. Non-spoiler side of things, basically, the UK government has some, or Europe government. I'm not really sure. I want to say it's Europe, but I'm such an ugly American. It is definitely based. It's got Irishmen in it and stuff like that. It's definitely over in Europe somewhere, and I'm gonna say UK because it's all the same animal to me. So anyway, they've screwed up. They've screwed up bad. They've sent in two special forces teams to try to retake this base that has gone all kind of crazy, and both teams they sent in did not do well, quite poorly actually. So instead of sending in more of their good old boys, for some reason they decide to send in four convicts, four ex-special force convicts that just so happen to fit the bill. It's not something we haven't seen before in stories, but this one does it well. I really couldn't complain. There's four of them. There's a guy named Flake. He's kind of the leader. There's a guy named Johnson. He's kind of the scumbag. There's a big old boy named Rhino. And then there is the last guy whose name is eluding me for a minute. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I'll think of it in a minute, and then it'll drive me crazy until then. But basically, these four guys, they're your typical ex-special forces, convict-type guys. You're not going to be blown away by their personalities. You know, they've all got different ones. But what the author does excellent is the banter between the four of them. I really, really like that a lot. Just like the military banter, the dark humor, the black humor, it's great. And for people that care about that kind of stuff, the big, huge, muscle-bound black guy is gay openly and isn't ashamed of it at all or anything like that. It's a little ham-fisted when the author throws it in there, but cool, inclusivity. So good for you, Mr. Jones. But anyway, they get more or less against their will with the promise of freedom. So a real escape from New York type of scenario. They have to go to this place. They call it a ventilation room or something like that, but basically it's a science and research and development type of building that has gone way out of control. And when they get there, at first, as you would think, everything kind of goes nice and easy. It's not too bad. And then the rug gets pulled out from under them and all sorts of crazy science fiction-y / supernatural stuff kind of starts happening. It hits all the boxes. There's aliens, there's zombies, there's a zoo. It doesn't really explain why everything is in there, but at the same time, just how they go about stuff, what happens is fun. It's interesting, and I'll get into it more in the spoiler section. But I enjoyed it. I didn't feel empathy or anything like that for these convicts because they're all scumbags. The author doesn't try to tell you that these guys are convicts with a heart of gold. These are convicts. They're all in jail for different reasons, but murder and stuff like that is definitely one of the primary reasons. And you never really, or at least I never really felt bad for them, but at the same time, you can kind of empathize with them just wanting to be free, going through all this just so they can get their freedom, even though none of them really buy for an instant that they're going to get it. Now, I do have a few issues with the book. First and foremost is it needs an editor. It doesn't ruin the book at all, but it hurts it. There's missing words, there's wrong word usage, there's the wrong tense, there's sentence structure issues that an editor would figure out, would spot and fix, and make this book read a lot smoother. It is not a super smooth read, but it's not a jarring, jerky read. So I would just suggest that this author has his manuscript just looked over by an editor real quick. And in fact, there's about to be an ad for one that you're more than welcome to check out. But yeah, like I say in just about every single video, if you write your book, have an editor look at it. I cannot stress that enough. Not a friend of yours, not just some guy who once read a book. I mean, we're talking a full blown, no BS. You pay me for my services, editor, and because it needs it. This book would benefit greatly from an editor, and it, like I said, it doesn't ruin the story, but it hurts it. Also, I have a slight issue with what happens with the main characters. I don't want to spoil anything, so I'll wait until after the ad. But yeah, it's hard for me to swallow how it all works out in the end. And while it doesn't, the ending isn't ruined. It also bothers me how vague the ending is. It's not a cliffhanger. It's not a dun dun dun. It's more of like the author just kind of got tired of writing and put the end. It's frustrating. I understand that this is book one. I understand that it's supposed to be part of a series, but it was too abrupt. There was no what if. There was no okay. It was very quickly tied up, and that irked me because the rest of the story was very well thought out, very well put through, and the ending felt clunky and undeserved. And again, in the spoilers, I'll get into that. However, that all being said, this book is a solid 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I do plan on reading book 2 when it gets released. Mr. Jones, if you could just let me know. I am following you on Amazon now, but this was a great story. I really enjoyed it. The world, the imagination, the creativity, it was good. And the banter between the main characters is spectacular. I was getting a huge kick out of it. So, yeah. Yeah, if you like military sci-fi, you're going to love this book. You really are. 4 out of 5 stars. Check it out. The link to the book will be in the description. So that's it for the non-spoiler side of things. I'm going to play an ad real quick, throw out a big spoiler alert, and then, well, we're going to get into the spoilers, so buckle up. Hey, also, everybody knows that just finishing a book isn't the entire battle. You gotta have an editor. Otherwise, there's a good chance your book is gonna be awful. So if you're looking for one, my editor, elatoria at Fiverr.com, is available for a very good price. If you want, go check her out. Spoilers are coming next, so if you're still here when the music stops, that's on you. Alright, you're still here, so let's get to it. So the book, like I said, starts off, and there's these 4 convicts that get picked up by their government that were all, in prison for various reasons. Murder being the primary one. They all don't want to do it. They're all like, screw this, because there was 2 UK special force teams that went into this military building, this research and development building that they lost control of, and they didn't make it. Like, there's no contact. They're dead. And the convicts kind of figure this out. They're ex-special forces. They all have their different specialties or whatever, but they know some BS when they hear it, and they're like, no, we're not interested. Well, they dangle the whole, we'll give you your freedom and a full pardon thing in front of them, which everybody who's ever read anything like this before or seen a story like this before knows it's garbage. And since this is a spoiler section, yeah, the promise is garbage, but they know that going into it. But honestly, even risking their lives doing some stuff like this is better than nothing. They're not really told what kind of resistance they're looking at when they go into this thing, so they know that they're in a little bit of trouble. They don't like it, but again, it's better than sitting around rotting in a jail cell. So they get they get geared up, they get bussed over there, and they get into this research facility or whatever. And at first, everything goes pretty smooth. They're able to get through. It's what you would expect. Even though most of these guys have been out of action for a while, they remember their training, which I don't have a problem with believing. Not at all. They're a little rusty, and I like that the author throws that in there. But for the most part, it's kind of like riding a bike. They remember their signals. They remember their how to clear a room and everything. So I can appreciate that. I like the way they're a little jerky. They're a little older. They're a little slower. They've been rotting in a cell for a decade or so. But they still got it. These guys still got it, and I like that. What I also really like about it is when the shit hits the fan, and I think it's safe for me to swear in this. When the shit hits the fan, they don't just like, oh, well, I'm too badass to care. you get the real trauma there. Like the big, huge, muscle-bound black guy rhino, he breaks down pretty quick, and they got to deal with that just because of what they're seeing and the fact that he's been out of it for so long. And honestly, he's a convict, so his mind isn't 100% stable. He snaps a little bit. He starts crying. He's like, I don't want to do this. I can't do this. I give up. And they got to snap him out of that. And that is a huge aspect of this situation that a lot of books miss, and I'm very impressed that this one caught it. It really made it more realistic, believable, and that was huge. That really pulled me in. I don't know how else to say it. It made it seem more real, and I love that. So anyway, they run into some basically zombies, but it's not really a zombie. There's these smoke things. All right, now follow me here. They're in this military science and research and development lab that they've lost control of, right? Everyone's dead. Everyone's dead. This place is all jacked up. A lot of it is underwater, and you're like, what is going on? There's a lion and her two male cubs following around in here for some reason. There's literal bats with fists. It's pretty creative and terrifying. And they run into these bats first, and the bats attack them and beat the crap out of them. They're able to shoot him and kill him, of course, but one guy gets shot in the shoulder by friendly fire. And again, that's awesome that the author has the knowledge to put something like that, because it's close quarters fighting, and they start shooting, and one of their guys takes a bullet from one of their other guys. That would happen if you play any kind of game where everyone's like, oh, friendly fire, what is that? Or you're in close combat with somebody and somebody's shooting into it. Yeah, it's a really bad idea. There's a reason they don't do that. That's it. So the fact that the author put something like in there was just spectacular for me. So yeah, one of the guys gets shot in the shoulder, and that's a little bit of an issue in itself, because 1 minute his shoulder is killing him and his arm is literally like flapping, behind him as he's running, and the next minute he's flipping guys over with his left hand, no problem. So there's a little inconsistency with the injuries and stuff like that. When they need them for a dramatic effect, they're there. When they don't, they're suddenly fine. So a little issue with that, but again, not story ruining or anything like that, just something that made my eye twitch a little. But sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. It's a really good book. They run into these things called, they're smoke monsters. They're literal smoke that solidify into human form. And at one point, when they were facing off against the lioness and her cubs, they solidify into lion form. So they seem to mimic whatever it is they're about to go toe-to-toe with. The thing about them is you can't really kill smoke. They shoot at it, nothing happens, and one of their guys, Johnson, gets sliced in the gut by this smoke thing, which basically it's got a blade that's sharper than a laser, cuts right through his body armor, gets into his guts, and once it was in his guts, it laid eggs inside of him, smoke eggs, and he can feel them twisting around. He doesn't like it. Long story short, they get away from the smoke monsters because if they have to walk over a grate or something like that, they can't. It has to be a solid surface that they're on, otherwise they'll fall through, which is clever. I like that. I like the way the author was making rules for everything, and that was kind of cool. So they were able to stay away from the smoke monsters, but their buddy Johnson is cut. And so they're trying to deal with that. Gut wounds never fun, and they make that observation. So while they're trying to fix him up, they see Johnson starts telling him, I can feel something inside me. I feel something inside me. Get it out. And so eventually they believe him. They dig into his guts, which is pretty freaking horrible. And he doesn't just grin and bear it either. He's screaming. So there is that. It's not the Hollywood tough guy thing. Somebody puts their hand inside your guts. You're not just going, throw some salt on it. We'll be fine. He's screaming, and that's fair. They pull these eggs, these smoke eggs out of them, and they throw them in this container. Like, what is that? So these smoke things, not only do they cut through just about anything, but they lay eggs in you at the same time. So it's efficient, but horrifying. They end up figuring out, somebody tells them, kind of ex machina style through the radio, take those eggs and throw them in the water. Never really find out who tells you that. So they have to take them down to another level. They throw them in the water and the eggs dissolve and scream. And that's when they find out that there's a killer whale swimming around in the water. Although they find out later when he comes up on the lift. But still, my point is, there's all sorts of crazy stuff in this book. There's fist bat things, man bat fist things. There's the smoke monsters. There's kind of they're kind of like zombies, but what basically happens is Johnson dies and then comes back, and it's the smoke monster things that are animating him. Whether or not he's alive, it never really explains. It's possible that he's like a zombie, but the author makes a real point to describe the smoke is what's animating him and stuff. So like they open him up, shoot him, and everything like that at one point, and the smoke kind of forms around him and gets him moving again. So I don't know if there's zombies or if there's smoke monsters animating the body or some sort of weird hybrid, but it's pretty cool. And then later on, you find out that everything that's happening in this lab is due to this weird, horrible bat monster nightmare thing that they think is an alien. So I mean, it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. Needless to say, a lot of craziness happens. They fight a lot of stuff. They all get banged up a little bit, and then the Navy SEALs show up, like 8 of them. And here's where things maybe it's because I'm an American and I have a little bit of problem with this, but these 3 convicts immediately are able to drop 2 of the Navy SEALs after they just pop up and eat lead because apparently they're very stupid Navy SEALs. And then the other 6, instead of listening and interrogating and getting intel from these guys, just accept the fact that life is bad. I don't know. I don't know. But bottom line is all the Navy SEALs die except for one. This guy Burp. Great name, by the way. And that I have an issue with that. The convicts are able to handle something that 3 teams of special forces weren't able to handle. And out of the 4 convicts, only 1 dies. The other 3 get beat up, but they're perfectly fine. And it's just a little too convenient. At one point, Rhino literally goes toe-to-toe with this massive, scary alien bat beast lion-o chimera thing. I don't know. It's this huge, terrifying thing that only wants to kill and eat, and yet 2 times when it gets a hold of the good guys, it throws one off of a 2-story drop, which granted wouldn't exactly kill him, but it just it messes up his back a little bit and hurts his ribs. And then a few days later, after he gets into a hospital, he's fine. Rhino goes toe to toe with this thing, throws grenades at it, shoots it a whole bunch, and is fine. And what ends up, I don't want to say killing it, but hurting it, is a flare that they fire into its mouth. I get it, I do. It just felt unearned. With everything else that they did, with all the cleverness and everything in this book, that just felt phoned in. I don't know how else to say it. It didn't ruin the story, but it wasn't that satisfying climactic fight scene that the book had been building up to the whole time. It was just lackluster, in my opinion. So they end up blowing up the whole thing. The Rhino, what's his face? Flake, the other guy, and the Navy SEAL Burp all get out, right? And they blow up. They're able to destroy the compound, blow up everything inside of it, and, you think it's a happy-ish ending. And then these 2 cars that dropped them off before, the mission started, come up, grab all 4 of them, throw them in the car, take the 2 that are still awake, because Rhino and Flash are just done. They're hurt real bad. The other 2, they take them to a hospital for some reason. I'm not 100% on that one. And they take the other 2 to the staging area that they were in. But when they get to the staging area, it's abandoned, and there's a note that says, meet us at this hotel room, basically. It's a little bit more cryptic than that, but why? I don't understand the point. Because the only thing that happens is they break a window, which sets off an alarm, which brings the local PD over there. The cops are, useless. All cops are when it comes to these stories. They overpower the cops, no problem. Steal a cop car, go on a quick, pointless car chase scene type of thing where they evade the cops with complete ease, and then make it to this hotel where the suited government agents get a hold of them, knock one of them out, bring them up to this room where they gut shot the Navy SEAL, which honestly only bothers him a little bit. He's able to continue fighting. He's able to continue functioning. Like, I don't know where he shot him in the stomach, but you're made to believe that it shoots right through the center of his belly and exits out his back, and he's just, I'm bleeding a little bit. Somebody pour salt on it, and I'll be fine. And it's just, it becomes the author has spent the entire book making it realistic-ish, as realistic as a sci-fi can be, and then these wounds are just superficial. It's getting gut shot is a motherfucker. The pain, I don't care how badass you are, your body's gonna let you know that sucks. I mean, you have a hole driven through your torso. You're gonna notice that. You're not just gonna be like, whatever, my stomach's lacerated, I'll be fine. You're gonna notice that, and it's going to inhibit your mobility. But of course, they overpower the government agents, get them to talk. They don't kill them for some reason. One of which is one of the guys that just gut shot a Navy SEAL. And now I don't know any Navy SEALs personally. I don't. But I got to imagine if you gut shot one and then he gets the upper hand on you, he's not just going to leave you taped up unmolested in a corner of a hotel room. Could be wrong. If you're a Navy SEAL, please, put that in the comment section and let me know how wrong I am. I will defer to your expertise. But I, as an individual, if you shoot me in the gut and I get the upper hand on you afterwards, I'm killing you 3 times. Just fair warning that's how Lord Tremendous rolls. So anyway, they all get medical treatment. And then another government suit shows up and just tells them, yeah, we're not really going to set you guys free. You're all a bunch of animals. But if you would rather not go to jail, then you come work for me. And they don't like this guy. They don't want to work for him, but they don't want to go back to jail. So then the ending, it's kind of abrupt. It's just kind of like they're all in the hospital except for Rhino. Rhino's in a coma. So the other 3 are like, you know what, screw it. We don't want to work for him. There's always a way out of it, but we don't want to go back to prison either. So what we're going to do is we're going to work for him and not let him know that our ulterior motive is to kill him, because killing that one guy is going to make it so that they can escape. It's just, it's a flaccid ending. It really is. There's no meat. There's no like cliffhanger. There's no interest. You have a vague, like, they just 180. It's just like, no, I'm not working for this scumbag. In fact, the guy that wants him to work for him is the guy that put Flake in jail. Flake wants to kill this guy. And then all of a sudden, he's just like, yeah, we'll work for him so that we can get in there, and I'm going to kill him. Killing that one guy isn't going to get you out of it. At no point in this book has the author made any of these characters stupid. You know what I mean? All of them are very clever, very grounded in reality. They know what their limits are. They have that special forces like heart and courage and stuff, and the author does a wonderful job showing all that. But at the very end, he kind of makes some floor mats and then really stupid. Like, if we kill this one guy, that'll like, it's just ridiculous. Like, if you were to take out the CEO of Microsoft would collapse. That's not what would happen. That's not what would happen at all. The stock might fall a few percent points, and then everything's going to go back to normal. So really, I mean, I don't understand how these guys went from super clever, super resourceful, and super grounded in reality to god-awful dumb and has no idea how the world works. It just ate at me. The ending felt forced. It felt like the author didn't know what to do with the end of this book, wrote himself into a corner, and just was like, you know what, here's what I think is going to happen there. Another thing that bothers me is you don't really find out what the hell was going on in that research facility. Where did the alien come from? You do understand that they were trying to reverse engineer the alien's DNA in order to make military biological weapons. The smoke monsters, the man-bat fisty things, the zombie people, even the bat itself. They were making explosives. They were making all sorts of crazy new military war gear, basically, using alien DNA. It was strange, but it would have been great because they find the hard drives. It would have been great if we could have used those hard drives to see what happened, how they lost control, what was really going on, did he really kill the weird alien man bat thing, or did he just hurt it real bad because bullets were glancing off of him? It was looking for heat in order to not become dormant because they were storing it in a freezer to keep it under control. Like, it would have been great to see what happened. It would have been great to see or to hear what was going on. Like, they could have interrogated those guys in a hotel room and made them talk. They could have gotten it from the hard drives that they recovered while they were inside the facility. They could have found a notebook. Dr. Jones could have showed up and been like, "Here's what happened. Thank you, Mr. Ford. We salute you." Just anything to give the reader some sort of idea, some sort of understanding about what was going on. And the only other gripe I have about the book is it was a little hard to follow where the hell they were with this facility. One minute they were in a building, next minute they were in a building inside of a building, then they were going up the stairs to sublevel 3. It was just, I'm so confused about where they were going. But at the same time, as much as it should have killed the story for me, it didn't. I found myself chewing through every page like, I need to see what happens next. It only took me a couple of days to finish this book. That's how engrossing it was. So I really enjoyed it. There were some small things here and there. God, please get an editor for this book. It's not ruining the story, but I think it would be leaps and bounds better if an editor would just go through this book real quick. But all in all, the action, the interaction, the story, the plot, the setup, even though it wasn't completely fulfilling, it was very fulfilling. It was a very good story, a very entertaining story, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. 4 out of 5 stars. It misses that 5th star just because of some inconsistencies with injuries, damage. I'm having trouble swallowing the fact that these 3 convicts were able to survive basically just kind of beat up. Granted, one guy's in a coma, but they all survive, where 3 other special forces teams who have been training up until this point while the 3 convicts are rusty as hell, they survive with just some bumps and bruises, and the 3 special forces teams all die except for one. I would have been better with it if the other 2 had been, like, maybe even MIA or just KIA. You know, one of the guys survives and one of the guys, like, Flake survives and Rhino's in a coma. You know, that would have been better. And sure, one special forces guy who was beat up too, sure, but it was too much, especially with some of the situations they were in. You know, the alien thing, one minute it was this man-eating killing machine, and the next minute it was like a puppy that was curious about a play toy. It just a little bit more consistency in the bad guys and in the supernatural ability of these people to survive would have made it a lot better. And of course, the editing loses that. With that and the editing with the plot holes and the editing, just I couldn't give it 5 stars. I thought about it, and 4 out of 5 stars. So I really did like the book, so I think it's more than fair. But hey, the link is in the description below. Feel free to get the book, read it, and come back and tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me why I'm right. Tell me why I'm in between. I would love to have a discussion. But that's going to do it for this review. As always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or complaints, feel free to put them in the comment section below, and I will get back to you as quick as I can. And as always, thanks.